In the midst of the Utah desert, concealed in an aura of confidentiality, exists a location enveloped in mystery. This place has confounded researchers, alarmed the nearby residents, and stirred the creative musings of conspiracy theorists for many years. Skinwalker Ranch, a subject of quiet discussion for a considerable period, is seen as the epicenter of perplexing occurrences. However, a momentous revelation is on the brink of emerging, as NASA have just revealed the truth about Skinwalker Ranch after revealing this image. Their findings are truly astonishing. Join us as we uncover the latest revelations from NASA regarding Skinwalker Ranch, which are sure to evoke a sense of intrigue and fascination. The mysterious Skinwalker Ranch. Undoubtedly, one of the most peculiar places on Earth is the Skinwalker Ranch, a roughly 500-acre property situated in a remote corner of Uintah County, northeastern Utah. In the year 1994, the Sherman family acquired this ranch with the sincere intention of leading a simple, tranquil life in private seclusion. The ranch appeared to be the epitome of their envisioned lifestyle. Little did they anticipate the bizarre turn of events that awaited them during their nearly 2-year residence. In this period, they would claim to have encountered not just a handful, but dozens, and perhaps even over 100 inexplicable incidents. When the Shermans eventually decided to share their story with the world, the global spotlight was cast upon this secluded region, and the ranch was christened with its now familiar name, Skinwalker Ranch. Presently, it is evident that the area is of great interest, as it is enclosed by fences, security cameras, blocked-off roads, and no trespassing signs, making it abundantly clear that the general public is prohibited from entering. This, however, was not the case when Terry and Gwen Sherman, along with their children, first arrived at the ranch in the autumn of 1994. Inside the Shermans' haunting experience. Let us delve into the standard account of the events that unfolded during the Shermans' 2-year sojourn on the ranch and the subsequent years when the area underwent official investigation. Many of these details initially came to light through the renowned 2005 book titled Hunt for the Skinwalker: Science Confronts the Unexplained at a Remote Ranch in Utah, authored by Dr. Colum A. Kelleher and George Knapp. The Shermans' primary objective in acquiring the ranch was to provide a home for their teenage son and 10-year-old daughter, and to engage in cattle ranching. Terry, an experienced cattle rancher, believed the area was suitable for raising high-quality cattle, which was the prior reputation of the property. The Myers family, the previous owners, had held the property since the 1930s. However, due to years of vacancy before the Shermans' acquisition, the ranch had deteriorated and required substantial renovation. Despite this, the Shermans felt they were up to the task. Upon commencing their move, peculiarities about the property soon became apparent. Firstly, an unexplained clause in the contract stipulated the necessity of seeking permission from the Myers family for digging on the land. Secondly, upon arrival, they noticed that the house had been fortified, with doors and windows secured by metal bars. Chains, presumably once used for guard dogs, were present on each side of the house. The Shermans initially attributed these eccentricities to the Myers' idiosyncrasies. As the family settled into their new life, the first unusual incident occurred. One day, Terry, Gwen, their children, and Terry's father observed a dog-like creature approaching the ranch from a distance of about 400 yards. As it drew closer, it became evident that this animal, likely a wolf, was remarkably large and muscular, with gray fur and piercing blue eyes. Strangely, it displayed no hesitation or aggression as it approached the family. Even more astonishingly, they were able to pet the seemingly tame beast. In a sudden turn of events, the wolf darted towards the corral, attacking a curious calf. Terry and his father rushed to protect the calf, but their efforts were futile. Terry resorted to his .357 Magnum pistol, shooting the wolf at point-blank range, but the creature remained undeterred. 2 more shots produced similarly ineffective results. Astonishingly, the wolf sustained little to no harm and appeared entirely unfazed. Terry then called for his son to retrieve his .30-06 rifle, typically used for elk hunting, hoping for more firepower. However, even with this increased firepower, the bullets seemed to have minimal impact on the wolf. The creature eventually retreated, but continued to gaze intently at the family. In an attempt to confront the inexplicable situation, Terry and his son pursued the wolf, but it quickly disappeared into the woods. They followed the creature's tracks for about a mile before they inexplicably vanished. This perplexing turn of events left them with more questions than answers. As the sun set and their search yielded no results, Terry decided to return home, unable to forget the unnerving incident. The puzzling disappearances of Skinwalker Ranch. In the subsequent weeks, more sightings of unusual canines, distinct from the initial wolf-like creature, became apparent. Although these incidents were less intense and primarily limited to sightings, the Shermans continued to encounter these mysterious creatures for a period. However, the cessation of these sightings did not signify a return to normalcy in their lives. Unfortunately, this marked the onset of a series of perplexing, unsettling, and threatening occurrences that persisted during their 2-year tenure on the property. Soon, the enigmatic wolves were replaced by a myriad of other bizarre phenomena. The family began noticing significant items disappearing from their ranch. For instance, Terry would briefly leave an area only to return and find heavy, large ranch equipment missing, such as a 70-pound post digger. While some of these items, like the post digger, were eventually located, the act of finding them sometimes added to the mystery. For instance, the post digger was reportedly discovered suspended 20 feet up in a tree. Subsequently, a more significant incident occurred, introducing the family to a recurring phenomenon: strange lights and the crafts that were occasionally associated with them. One evening, as night fell, Terry, his son, and his nephew observed lights on their property in the distance, resembling white headlights and red taillights. Possibly from an RV suspecting trespassers, they decided to investigate. As they approached, the lights moved away silently. When they quickened their pace and drew closer, the lights abruptly ascended about 50 feet in the air, revealing an object with a refrigerator-like shape, not resembling an RV. The group stood still, watching as the object departed into the night sky and disappeared from view. It became increasingly evident that the Shermans were not merely encountering random anomalies by chance, but that there might be something unusual associated with the ranch itself. Over time, they learned that the Uinta Basin was a region where unusual occurrences were not uncommon, and that the land they resided on might have a close connection to this strangeness. Some even considered parts of it as cursed. Notably, this weird tale had some basis in Native American folklore, which isn't always the case for scary stories. However, in this instance, there appeared to be truth in the assertion that the indigenous people of the area, the UTEs, historically regarded the region, particularly Skinwalker Ridge to the north of the ranch, as a perilous, supernatural, and possibly cursed place, closely linked to entities known as skinwalkers. The dark side of the Uinta Basin. Skinwalkers are enigmatic figures from the folklore of various southwestern Native American groups. The complete scope of skinwalker lore remains mysterious to those outside these communities, as it is often considered a private and unsettling topic. However, from the information shared by these groups, it is understood that skinwalkers are sinister beings possessing potent dark magic. They acquire these abilities through a series of ominous rituals, including the gruesome act of murdering a family member and consuming their flesh. In their natural form, skinwalkers appear as gaunt, grotesque beings with fiery, coal-red eyes. They are said to possess immense strength, speed, and endurance, closely tied to malevolent spirits. Skinwalkers can inflict illness and curses upon others, infiltrate and manipulate the minds of individuals, driving them to commit heinous acts. Perhaps their most renowned power is the ability to shapeshift, often taking on the guise of animals like bears, birds, or wolves. The peculiar history of the Uinta Basin does not end here. In 1911, the Sun Advocate published an article discussing peculiar thunder-like noises unsettling settlers in the basin. Residents reported hearing these sounds day and night for years, attributing them to shifting rock layers beneath the Uinta Fault. Starting in the 1950s, Uinta County became a hotbed of unexplained phenomena, including thousands of UFO sightings, cattle mutilations, alleged extraterrestrial encounters, Sasquatch sightings, and poltergeist activity. This phenomenon peaked in the 1970s, establishing Uintah County as a significant hub of unexplained events in the United States. Frustrated by these ongoing occurrences, Terry began patrolling his land at night, where he witnessed strange lights in the distance. One frigid winter night, he encountered a unique jet-black craft that hovered silently and emitted multicolored lights resembling a disco ball. After evading detection, the craft departed in response to Terry's subtle movements. Similar sightings continued, including one witnessed by Gwen, who later saw a 7-foot-tall figure in a black uniform within a luminous doorway on her property. These incidents left behind unusually large footprints, perpetuating the region's mystique. The mysterious glowing orbs. The Shermans frequently observed large glowing orange objects, a common occurrence in their vicinity. Terry Sherman in particular witnessed these phenomena numerous times, often dedicating hours to their observation, sometimes employing a night vision scope on his rifle for closer examination. These objects consistently manifested in the vicinity of cottonwood trees approximately a mile away. While they generally hovered silently, their shapes varied, ranging from flat and elongated to as round as the moon. The object's perceived shape seemed to change depending on the angle from which the Shermans viewed it, and it was consistently visible only in the vicinity of their homestead. Terry's observations took a peculiar turn when he noticed a blue spot within the orange mass, representing a section of clear sky. Additionally, he reported witnessing fast-moving triangular objects exiting the orange entity, leading him to speculate about the possibility of a portal. These incidents, though perplexing and distressing, did not directly harm the Sherman family or their animals, apart from causing stress and fear. There were some uncertainties regarding an incident involving a wolf. Its relation to the other anomalies remained unclear. Nonetheless, the story suggests that the phenomena or those controlling them eventually developed a concerning interest in Terry's cattle. The strange saga of missing cows. One day, after a severe blizzard, Terry discovered that one of his cows had gone missing. He immediately embarked on a search, diligently tracing the cow's tracks until they abruptly ceased in the middle of an open area. This disappearance was as perplexing as a wolf vanishing into thin air. Strangely, there were no signs of predatory activity nearby, leaving no plausible explanation for the sudden halt in tracks. Unfortunately, the cow was never found, marking the first of 5 such disappearances that winter. The arrival of spring in 1995 failed to alleviate their concerns as the bizarre occurrences continued to revolve around the cows. In April, they began discovering their cows in gruesome conditions, with significant portions of their rear and bodies seemingly removed with surgical precision, notably devoid of blood. This pattern persisted in the ensuing months, invariably accompanied by peculiar sightings of yellow lights on Terry's property, often during adverse weather conditions. Subsequently, these strange lights preceded the discovery of mutilated cows with a disconcerting regularity. Adding to the enigma, the cow carcasses exhibited a slower rate of decomposition than expected. On one occasion, Terry noticed an unusual gel-like brown substance near a cow carcass, which, upon touch, was described as cold. Unfortunately, it evaporated before he could collect a sample. These relentless cattle mutilations posed a substantial threat to Terry's livelihood, each cow being worth a substantial sum. Voices, orbs, and vanishing dogs. Strange phenomena occurred multiple times a month at Skinwalker Ranch, renowned not only for its frequent occurrences, but also its diverse nature. Bizarre sounds emanated from underground, while peculiar holes about a foot deep and several feet wide materialized in areas where flying lights had been spotted the previous night. This implied that substantial amounts of soil had mysteriously disappeared overnight. Mysterious circular imprints emerged on the grass. Terry reported hearing voices in an unfamiliar language from above him. Another peculiar observation on the ranch involved flying, luminous orbs of various colors, including blue, yellow, orange, and red, typically signifying trouble on Saturdays. These orbs appeared to monitor Terry's activities from a distance, though a few close encounters were documented. During one such encounter on April 1996, Terry's dogs engaged with a blue orb. As the dogs approached, the orb descended slightly and circled them, just out of their reach, almost as if it taunted them. Subsequently, the dogs disappeared behind the tree line, and Terry heard them emit distressing yelps, followed by silence. The following morning, he discovered 3 large, burned circles in the grass, each containing the remains of his dogs, described as a greasy mess. During another close encounter, Terry and his wife examined the blue orbs more closely, noting their perfect round shape, roughly 3 times the size of a baseball, and clear glass-like exterior. Inside, they observed a swirling, intensely blue liquid on the verge of boiling, accompanied by a faint crackling sound resembling electricity. Strikingly, the orbs induced an unnatural, intense anxiety, almost as if it were an artificially induced emotion. The billionaire and the supernatural. Following the loss of Terry's beloved dogs and enduring over a year of turmoil and uncertainty, the Shermans reached a consensus that it was time to depart. It was during this period that Sherman decided to disclose the unusual occurrences publicly. He shared his story with Zach Van Eyck of the Deseret News, Utah's second-largest newspaper at the time, which was published on June 29, 1996. While the information provided was limited, it proved sufficient to ignite nationwide interest. Despite Terry's reservations about relinquishing his privacy, he believed that shedding light on his predicament might dissuade those responsible or lead to answers. Initially, the revelations drew attention to the property, attracting numerous unwelcome visitors eager to investigate. Terry, with few exceptions, denied entry to most of them. Some eccentric visitors even reportedly triggered peculiar events themselves. Before long, word of the property reached influential individuals. Within a few weeks of the initial publication, it was acquired by Robert Bigelow, a billionaire real estate tycoon with a keen interest in the supernatural. His pursuits led him to establish the National Institute for Discovery Science, NIDS, a year prior, dedicated to scientific research of paranormal phenomena. Skinwalker Ranch became a focal point for NIDS. The research team comprised professionals and skeptics from various fields, including physics, astronomy, psychology, and veterinary science. Renowned figures like astronaut Edgar Mitchell, parapsychologist Hal Puthoff, and ufologist Jacques Vallée were involved. Dr. Colum A. Kelleher, an Irish scientist with a PhD in biochemistry, led the research effort. Terry and his family, now residing on a ranch 20 miles away, remained curious and committed. Terry volunteered to manage the ranch for NIDS, and they accepted his offer. The terrifying secrets of 1996. In September 1996, a research team commenced their investigation at a ranch, although they didn't establish a permanent presence there. During their initial day, they came across the remains of mutilated cows and discovered 3 large, dried grass circles near the spot where Terry had lost his dogs. These circles were surrounded by lush green grass, and there were numerous holes in the ground, attributed to flying lights. Subsequently, the team had their first-hand encounter with an unusual occurrence. One night, a bright light hovered over the tree line for approximately 10 minutes, observed by 4 individuals, including Kelleher and Sherman. Although photographs were taken, they failed to accurately capture the light's brilliance, and none of the witnesses could identify it. In the ensuing months, the team observed several other anomalies, bolstering Sherman's credibility. However, the most peculiar events transpired in March 1997. On March 10th, a calf was found dismembered, with organs and much of its body missing, despite being seen alive just 45 minutes earlier. The injuries appeared surgically precise. Then, on March 12th at 11 p.m., the team's dogs were heard howling and barking. Investigating in Terry's truck, they encountered a massive 400-pound creature in a tree with glowing yellow eyes, which disappeared after Terry fired at it. Repeated shots failed to yield a carcass, though oval-shaped tracks in the snow, spaced 20 feet apart, suggested the presence of a creature with 2 6-inch diameter claws. These tracks remained unattributed to any known species. Magnetized mystery. In April, a peculiar incident unfolded on the property, marking a significant occurrence. Terry and Gwen were driving past an enclosure containing 4 highly prized bulls when Gwen expressed her concern about a potential mishap befalling them. Approximately 45 minutes later, they returned to discover that the bulls had vanished. Terry initiated a search, ultimately locating them in a small trailer where they appeared to be in a trance-like state. It seemed implausible that these fully grown bulls could have independently entered the trailer and organized themselves in such a manner. Terry's attempts to rouse them caused a commotion, leading to their escape and the destruction of the trailer's interior. An investigative team arrived shortly after, noting evidence indicating that the bulls had been in the enclosure. The presence of magnetized metal bars near the trailer caught their attention, which they documented through photographs and footage. Notably, the magnetization gradually dissipated, becoming nearly imperceptible after 48 hours. The circumstances surrounding this incident remain perplexing, with no clear explanation for the bulls' unusual behavior and the mysterious magnetization of the enclosure's metal bars. The basketball-sized orb of anomaly. While oddities have persisted over the months, the next significant incident unfolded in early June. One night, a bluish-white orb, roughly the size of a basketball, was observed about 75 yards away from Kelleher and one of his Canadian associates. This orb hovered no more than 15 feet above the ground before abruptly vanishing. Researchers combed the area using a powerful illuminating beam and night vision binoculars. Subsequently, the Canadian researcher using the binoculars reported the presence of a massive dark object in a tree ahead, moving northward. Kelleher attempted to photograph it but couldn't discern or capture it. Suddenly, the Canadian researcher exclaimed, "It's got me! It's conveying, 'We are watching you.'" Kelleher remained unable to see the entity. The unnamed Canadian researcher described it as substantial, blotting out the stars through the binoculars. He claimed it had seized control of his mind and delivered this unsettling message: the enigmatic yellow light and the tunnel phenomenon. On the early morning of August 26, 1997, at approximately 2:30 a.m., NIDS encountered a significant incident. Researchers Jim and Mike, who were monitoring the property from a bluff, observed a peculiar yellow light approximately 100 feet below them. This location was significant due to past reports suggesting that meditation in this area could trigger unusual phenomena. Mike used infrared binoculars to capture images of the light, which unexpectedly resembled a tunnel opening just above the ground. To their astonishment, a faceless black humanoid creature, estimated to be around 6 feet tall and weighing 400 pounds, emerged from the tunnel and disappeared into the darkness. Jim, lacking binoculars, could only perceive a dim yellow light and did not witness the figure or identify the tunnel. Following this event, the researchers descended to investigate, detecting a sulfurous odour and radiation spikes on their radiation detection equipment, which quickly subsided. Unfortunately, the photographic evidence they obtained was of poor quality. It's time for today's subscriber pick. NASA has just revealed the truth about Skinwalker Ranch after revealing this image. It has also recently disclosed its position regarding the phenomena associated with UFOs, particularly in light of its relevance to national security. In response to heightened interest, the U.S. government established the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force in 2020, operating under the purview of the Office of Naval Intelligence. This task force's primary objective is to systematize and compile data about UAP encounters. These encounters typically involve instances where observers are unable to promptly identify the nature of the aerial objects in question. The UAP task force is charged with the responsibility of detecting, scrutinizing, and cataloging UAPs that could potentially pose threats to the security of the United States. NASA has also articulated its stance on UFOs. Bill Nelson, the agency's administrator, has explicitly conveyed his belief that not all UFO sightings can be attributed to optical illusions or hoaxes. He underscores the enigmatic nature of UFO sightings, particularly those reported by Navy pilots. Consequently, it is unsurprising to find that reputable scientists are affording serious consideration to the phenomenon of UFOs and even the possibility of extraterrestrial life. Let us know what you think about what we just showed you. The night the surveillance cameras went dark. One noteworthy incident occurred in July 1997, involving surveillance cameras. The team had strategically placed these cameras in an area with notably high reported activity. Approximately a year later, 3 of these cameras suffered simultaneous unexplained damage at 8:30 p.m. Upon investigation, it was evident that the wires had been forcefully ripped out. Strikingly, neither these affected cameras nor others facing them captured any evidence of what caused the damage or any noteworthy occurrences during their operational lifespan. Additionally, the team conducted extensive investigations in the Uinta Basin and even abroad. During interviews, several individuals shared experiences that paralleled the Shermans. They recounted encounters with strange phenomena such as cattle mutilations, luminous orbs, and enigmatic unidentified aircraft. Notably, some of these individuals were Terry Sherman's neighbors. Terry, addressing the issue of cattle mutilation, expressed, "If I'm considered eccentric, then we both share the same enigma." However, it is essential to mention that 4 of Sherman's neighbors themselves conveyed skepticism regarding the veracity of the Shermans' accounts. The government's quest for answers at Skinwalker Ranch. The NIDS conducted a comprehensive investigation spanning from 1996 to 2002. Notably, the period from March to August 1997 witnessed an increase in unusual occurrences following the initial portal incident involving Jim and Mike. However, these anomalies gradually diminished over time. Despite the reduced activity, NIDS continued their research efforts in the area, albeit with decreasing significance after 1999. In 2002, NIDS disbanded, as reported on its website by Robert Bigelow. He explained that investigative work had become unnecessary for over 2.5 years by that point, but expressed a willingness to revive NIDS with new personnel if the opportunity arose. It's crucial to note that many findings from this investigation remain classified by Bigelow to this day. In 2005, the publication of Hunt for the Skinwalker marked a turning point in the ranch's history. The book attracted the attention of the United States government, particularly Dr. James A. Lakatsky from the Defense Intelligence Agency. While visiting the ranch, Lakatsky reported witnessing a peculiar yellow spectral object which Bigelow did not observe. Lakatsky's conviction in the account prompted Bigelow to contact his friend, the late Nevada Senator Harry Reid, who also took a keen interest. Subsequently, NIDS was replaced by the government-funded Advanced Aerospace Weapons Systems Applications Program, ASAP, which contracted Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies, BASS, to investigate numerous UFO and paranormal cases with a primary focus on Skinwalker Ranch. The BASS-off-SAP investigation, funded with $22 million by the Defense Intelligence Agency and involving around 50 team members, took place from 2008 to 2010. Many strange events marked this time, although much of the investigation was kept secret. Some details have recently come to light, but misinformation has spread due to efforts to hide the program's activities. It was also unclear how OFSAP differed from other initiatives like Luis Elizondo's ATIP work, deciphering the Skinwalker Ranch mystery. In our pursuit of understanding the events at hand, we can examine the 3 primary conventional explanations: hoaxes, delusions, and misidentifications of ordinary objects and phenomena. In this particular case, elucidating the truth proves challenging. One theory posits that the entire affair was a hoax, possibly orchestrated to facilitate property sale. However, it seems extreme for Sherman to harm his cattle or dogs to fabricate a story. Alternatively, he may have exaggerated tales to expedite his departure from the property, believing that natural forces were causing losses. There are significant issues with the hoax theory. Witnesses, including researchers, claim to corroborate some of Sherman's experiences. This implies that the Shermans and the investigative team either maintained an elaborate ruse for years or were complicit in a grand conspiracy, which seems unlikely. Another possibility is government involvement, given Sherman's suspicions of military influence. While the government possesses undisclosed advanced technology, orchestrating such a spectacle would entail substantial risks, especially considering the attention it attracted. Could it all be a shared delusion? While no professional psychological assessments were conducted, attributing the same delusion to multiple individuals over an extended period appears implausible. Cattle mutilations, while not unique to the ranch, are often attributed to predators, poisonous plants, or decomposition. The complexity of this case, coupled with limited data, makes it challenging to dismiss these events as mere hoaxes or delusions. Beyond ball lightning. Ball lightning has often been suggested as an explanation for UFO sightings and orbs witnessed at Skinwalker Ranch. However, ball lightning is a rare atmospheric phenomenon, predominantly occurring during storms and of brief duration. In stark contrast, the anomalous phenomena documented by Sherman and others persisted year-round, exhibiting apparent intentionality, suggesting a conscious agency behind them. The enigmatic orange portals defy conventional explanations, challenging the possibility of optical illusions or localized weather anomalies. The diverse Utah wildlife, including bears, raccoons, coyotes, wolves, and mountain lions, fails to match the descriptions of the creatures encountered on the ranch. Researchers well-versed in the local fauna find little correlation with the observed entities. In cases of clear creature sightings, such as the initial wolf incident, details may have been distorted over time. Reports of subterranean noises might be attributed to geological activity, a phenomenon documented a century ago. Additionally, the sighting of unusual ships might stem from misidentifications of conventional aircraft, despite notable behavioral and design disparities. Intriguing incidents like portal sightings, ground holes, and telepathic encounters remain elusive to explanations grounded in conventional misidentifications. The enduring mysteries of Skinwalker Ranch persist, prompting further investigation into these perplexing phenomena. The paradox of extraterrestrial intrigue. In the quest to comprehend the mysteries of Skinwalker Ranch, traditional explanations falter, even when multiple witnesses corroborate extraordinary events. The question arises, could uncharted forces or entities beyond the realm of conventional science be the architects of these enigmatic occurrences? We cannot categorically dismiss this possibility. Before delving deeper, it is crucial to remember that the absence of conventional explanations does not inherently elevate exotic scenarios. Perhaps, within this remote locale, an unconventional but natural phenomenon exists, uncharted by science yet far less sensational than extraterrestrials or shape-shifting beings. Some have posited tectonic strains or rare atmospheric geological phenomena as potential culprits, though these theories lack definitive evidence. Consciousness seems to orchestrate these events, but its origin sparks debate. Is it linked to extraterrestrial visitors, interdimensional entities, or even the power of black magic woven into local legends? Some suggest all these elements intertwine, converging at Skinwalker Ranch. Yet the paradox remains. Why does this apparent intelligence perform seemingly mundane actions when capable of traversing interstellar realms? Understanding the motives behind these events, cattle mutilations, strange lights, and canine enigmas, remains elusive. Despite rigorous investigations since 1996, tangible evidence remains elusive, prompting skepticism. Secrecy veils some findings, raising questions about the truth concealed by researchers and governments. In our pursuit of understanding, we must avoid both pseudoscience and closed-minded skepticism. While there's no definitive proof challenging our scientific paradigms, the Skinwalker Ranch enigma endures, inviting contemplation of an enigmatic universe yet to be fully understood. Do you think that mysterious places like Skinwalker Ranch should be subject to more scientific study and scrutiny? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.